Hello, I am Shaurya Thapa of Borrowing Tape, and today I'm joined with Lowell Dean, the writer and director of the 2024 survival thriller Die Alone. Welcome, Lowell. But before I get into your new film, I just want to thank you personally for directing Wolf Cop and its sequel, Another Wolf Cop, because both of those films were, let's just say I was a changed man after watching them. But but back to Die Alone. Tell me one thing. How does one because I just mentioned Wolf Cop, so how does one jump from directing an over-the-top campy film like that to directing something like Die Alone, which is more gritty, more realistic, more emotional? So, changing those tones and genres, how's that experience been for you?
It's been a long road, but a fun road. I loved making the WolfCop movies. I loved making Die Alone. To me, it's all kind of weirdly the same. It's just like for me, when I not so much write but direct a movie, I consider directing being the tone police. So it's more like I have to have a tone in my head for how people talk, the sense of humor or lack thereof, And for me, once I can lock in on what the tone and feeling of a movie is, it doesn't matter the genre. It could be silly like Wolf Cop. It could
Yeah.
be more earnest like Die Alone. So the favorite thing for me about writing and directing is getting to try different things. So as much as I love Wolf Cop, I would not just want to make Wolf Cops for the rest of my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But considering that your film, the catalyst of the events in your film is an epidemic of sorts, and we have seen this kind of, premise in several other zombie films or, psychological thriller dystopian films. So how did you try to actively avoid cliches or, familiar tropes? So like, how much is too much
That's a
taken
good
from
question.
other?
I mean, I can say one big thing that changed from when I was writing the early drafts, and we actually made it, was a real pandemic. So we all lived through COVID-19. And I will say what that changed for me with this script and this making the movie is I really believe the less is more. I really believe now that we had all lived through it, like in earlier drafts, there was many scenes of them trying to figure out how to get out of the city, and then how do they drive, which roads are safe, how can they trust people they run into in gas stations. And after COVID, it felt like not only did I not need all that, but if I could be very targeted in the couple scenes we did do, you'd get way more of an actual emotional response from people because it's like just show one shot of a hospital and we're all like, oh yeah, show one shot of people protesting and putting on masks, like, okay, that's enough. I get it. Right.
Yeah. So, any films that actively inspired dialogue, be it in style or substance?
Yeah, many films. It's kind of a stew of a lot of different inspirations. The biggest ones for me, I would say, are the movie Harold and Maude, and just classic apocalypse films like 28 Days Later, things like that. It's kind of hard to pinpoint like a bunch of different ones. I mean, and another obvious Easter egg is Memento, which Carrie-Anne Moss was also in. So it's kind of a mix of different things.
So, talking about Carrie-Anne Moss, that because she's one of the lead actors in your film. So, how does it feel like directing the person who played Trinity in Matrix? Like, how was that experience for you?
I mean, it was great working with Carrie-Anne Moss. I couldn't say a bad thing. She's just wonderful, and I would say the best compliment I can give her is yes, she obviously comes with the baggage of being like Trinity and being in like many other iconic films. But the cool thing about her is once she commits to a film, she's just a person, She was very passionate about this film. She was very kind about her ambition for the project. So um, it was easy to forget that she was like an iconic actor because she was just Carrie Ann there, doing her best every day with the rest of us, rolling up our sleeves and making the movie.
Yeah, and uh, can you tell me a little about the shooting locations? Because considering that most of the film happens in like this abandoned dystopia, and how long did principal photography take you for dialogue?
The film was shot around Saskatchewan, which is where I'm from, over about 24 days. And the thing with this film is like you said, there's been many apocalypse films, so we kind of tried to consider our film a post-apocalypse film. So we wanted to find really beautiful landscapes and lush greenery and not make it cold or gritty or gray. Make it actually like the planet is reclaiming itself from humanity, and maybe it's a beautiful thing, you know? So luckily Saskatchewan has a lot of vast beauty, and we could find locations like Katepwa, Saskatchewan, where the farmhouse is located, and Capel and Capel Valley, which is where our gas station and a few other locations were.
So my final question for you is that I read somewhere, and because like I don't trust everything that I read on the internet, so I don't know if it's true, but
Go
I read
figure.
that I read that you had the idea for Die Alone way before WolfCop, like before 2014. So how what took you over a decade to get this film on the rails?
What took a decade was the script getting good enough, and just people supporting it, supporting me. When I first wrote this, I didn't have a single credit on IMDb. No one wanted to make it. And then, you just kind of chase the money or chase something that people want to make or chase momentum. And when it was clear that I needed to do more work on Die Alone, I quickly wrote Wolf Cop, and it immediately got people excited. So I went down a road of making that and making the sequel, and then flirting with other projects. And then I made a wrestling horror film, Dark Match, that's coming out soon. And so all these things were happening, but in between each of them, I'd like do a little bit of work on Die Alone and then pass it around and say, anybody want to make this yet? And we did get some support and interest. The company I was with, Mind's Eye, we applied to Telefilm and in Canada, and they supported that. So that was little baby steps to get there, but it was a weird one for sure. I was just always tinkering away, and I would say the first 5 years the script wasn't good enough, and I would say the last 5 years it was just finding the right partners or people to be interested. And then also, 3 of those years were COVID, so that puts a dent.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Lowell, for joining us, and best of luck for Die Alone. And as much as I'm happy for you venturing into serious to gritty territory, I hope there are some more Wolf Cop movies on the way later.
Never say
But
never. Never say
yeah,
never.